form is called intercept form, and that form has two sets of parentheses. So I think this form's pretty easy. Same thing, if the front is greater than 0, it opens up. If the front's negative, it opens down. But this time, you can find the x-intercepts instead of the vertex. So your x-intercepts are actually the p and the q of your equation. And then from there, we can find the vertex. So if you look down here at the examples, I'm sorry, it's kind of small if you write big. Your x-intercepts are what's in your parentheses with the x's, but it's like opposite of what you think. It's if you solved for x. So like if I did x minus 1 equals 0, x would be 1. So my one x-intercept is technically 1. And then my other x-intercept would be negative 3. So it's not just pulling out negative 1, positive 3. It would be like if you set them equal to 0, what would it be? So I just always remember it's the opposite of what it is in the equation. So we'll just do all of them. So same thing with this one. It's not just 1 and negative 5. It's the opposite of what's there. So this would be negative 1 and positive 5 would be my x-intercepts. And then this one's a little bit trickier. You're saying what would it be if it's equal to 0? So 2x plus 4 equals 0 and 3x plus 3 equals 0. You might actually have to solve. So in this case, x would be negative 2. So for the first intercept would be negative 2. And then for the other one, it would be negative 1. So to find your x-intercepts, you take these two sets of parentheses and you just set them equal to 0 and solve for both x's. That's all you're doing. Just set them equal to 0 and those are your x-intercepts. So how do you find your vertex? So if you look up here, there's an equation. P plus Q divided by 2. So all you're going to do is add the two numbers that you found for the x-intercepts together and divide by 2. So 1 plus negative 3 divided by 2. Is negative 1. I'm using a calculator. Negative 1 plus 5 divided by 2. 2. Negative 2 plus negative 1 divided by 2. Just watch your signs. That's why I said use your calculator. Like negative plus a negative divided by a positive, just be aware. All right, so those are your x-coordinates of your vertex. Like I said, sorry, these are so small. So negative 1's the x-coordinate, 2, negative 3/2. Okay. And then how do you find the y-coordinate? You can just take the x value and plug it back into the equation from above. So if I take negative 1 and plug it into my equation, what do I get? You can also use your calculator. So if you want to do the calculator, which might take some of you longer, if you want to use your calculator, you plug the original function in, go to your table, and you can find it in here. So like negative 1 is my x. So then negative 1, I should have took that in right. I guess I did. It's not going to fit on the graph. If negative 1 is my x, then it goes with negative 16. So either plug it back in, or if you graph it in your calculator and go to the table, you can figure out what it is. Negative 1, negative 16. So same for the second one. I can either take 2 and plug it in and figure out what it equals if I take it and plug it in. Or if I use my calculator, I would take the original problem, type it in, Go to my table. X is 2. So then my y would be 27. It seems high, like none of these are going to fit on the graph. That's all right. And then the last one, just take it and plug it in. Just watch, it's a fraction. I won't give you a fraction on the test, just came out that way. So I take that and I plug it in. I think I'm going to get a decimal. Yeah, I get negative 3/2 again if I plug it in. And then to graph it, you just plot the 3 points and connect them. So for the first one, I would graph 1, 0, negative 3, 0. I'm going to count by 2s, I guess. I don't know why these aren't fitting. My vertex would be negative 1, negative 16. So I'm going to count by 2s. So 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And then for the second one, I'm at negative 1, 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. And then this one I might count by 3s. Whew. So 2, 27. So I'm going to go over 2, and then I might go by 3s. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. And then the last one.
When Mr. Derlin, please call extension 1142. Thank you.
Negative 2, 0, negative 1, 0. And then I have negative 1.5, negative 1.5, so somewhere here. This one's a little awkward. There you go. I'll make sure yours fit on the graph, and as long as you were getting these numbers properly, that's all that matters. I'll check your graph based on how you graph. This is also a terrible parabola. So the big thing would be set these two equal to 0 to get your x-intercepts, and then you average them together to get your vertex. So these two, set them equal to 0, then this formula to get your vertex.